Oh, hello. This is a video recording of my screen as far as the presentation that I delivered in regards to the um, PSAT NMSQT Readiness College Readiness Workshop. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go through these slides much in the same way that I did at the presentation last Thursday. But I wanted to make sure that I made this information accessible to those who weren't able to join us. Uh, First thing we're going to do is talk about what is the PSAT and NMSQT, why is it important, and basically the first thing you think of when you think of the PSAT, at least from a student's perspective, it is a test that gets them ready for taking the actual SAT once they are applying to their four-year colleges or universities in their senior year. And we typically give the PSAT in their 10th grade year so that students can get prepared during that 10th grade year in hopes to take the actual SAT in their 11th grade year. Now, the PSAT and MSQT measures the reading, writing, and language, math skills developed over many years. And so, for that very reason, this is not the type of test that students just cram the night before to take to get a good score in the following day when they actually sit for the test. This is actually a production of their entire time in school as far as the questions that will be asked of them on the PSAT. Now, again, it's not going to ask them for factual information, remembering dates and history, or having to remember various mathematical formulas. It is all about measuring reasoning and measuring students in regards to their critical thinking skills. One thing we do highlight is there is no penalty for guessing. In the past, the PSAT as well as the SAT did take a fraction of a point off for students who guessed at answers and got them incorrect. But now they only get scored on what they get correct. So we definitely encourage students to complete each section of the test. And finally, this is a timed test, which is a little different than what students are accustomed to when you're thinking about our standards of learning assessments that students take during the course of the school year towards the end for their various core subject classes. Now, the benefits of taking the PSAT is obviously the first thing is to prepare them for the actual SAT. They also can get, as a result of taking a PSAT, get personalized official SAT practice via Khan Academy. We'll talk about that as well as far as how do students get online to Khan Academy to access this service. It gets them, there's an array of college and career tools that they can access on their College Board website, or account I should say. They're also entered in a National Merit Scholarship Program. So for those students who do very well in the PSAT, they're able to qualify already in their 10th grade, 11th grade year when they take it, because we do have students take it even in their 11th grade year. They just have to pay a fee to sit for the test. For 10th grade, there's no charge for students to take the PSAT, but they can start earning scholarships possibly for college entrance once they graduate high school. And also, there is a tool called AP Potential that alerts students to particular AP courses that we offer here at Hampton High School and gauges their success on the PSAT with the appropriate AP courses they might be well suited for and taking in their junior and senior year once they get to those particular years in their high school program. Now, how do you access your PSAT NMSQT score reports? There's two ways. We do have a paper score report here in their cumulative file. But the information that you'll get based on their online report will provide a greater perspective in regards to all the areas that your child did well in, and it highlights those areas that your child needs to get some extra support. To access this score report, students can log directly into their College Board account. They would use their username and password that they established, and for our 10th graders who took the test, it should be the same as their student Gmail account, as well as their password that they use to access their grades on the portal account in order to for PowerSchool. So if they use that information, they should be able to get access. Obviously, if they use a different username or password, they can hit that forgot username or password and go through the process of recovering that information so that they can get their scores online. Once they do, you're going to see the score report pop up, and you'll notice the top 3 scores there. On the left, you'll see 860, which is the total score, and it's broken down between 2 different subtests, the evidence-based reading and writing, as well as the math portion of the test. Again, this is a timed test. They have several sections to complete, but the scores all get computed into 2 different subtest scores, and they get a final score. And typically, a student's natural question would be, is this a good score or not? And I'm going to kind of help frame that question and answer that in just a moment. Now, in looking at this particular slide in regards to the scores, it breaks it down even further. When you look at the total score, you'll notice that there is a range that's associated with that. At the bottom, my score range, 820 to 900. And that's reflective of the fact that students who sit for this test, if they were to take it perhaps on a different day, they could have scored anywhere, but more than likely they would have scored anywhere between 820 and 900. And that's just simply by the nature of the fact that there are different versions to the test, and this is applicable to when they actually take the SAT. Which is why we encourage them to take the SAT more than one time. So you'll notice that range. You'll also notice under each of the subtests, the evidence-based reading and writing score, as well as the math score. Also, there are assigned ranges to these particular subtests. And on your score report, which is not viewable on this particular slide, there should be a percentile assigned to each of these scores. And this literally just shows how your child fared based on, if they were a 10th grader, the percentile would gauge how well they did in comparison to other 10th graders across the United States. Now also, let's see, how will I do on the SAT? If you notice there, under the score 380 and 480, there is a projected SAT score as to what they would have earned. Of course, 380 being their score, it shows the benchmark as to where they should be to at least be on grade level and college ready. And parents get concerned about this because if they see that the student is in the red area, the yellow area, not in a green area, that they're listed as being behind them. And what I try to advise parents is to look at this as a baseline score report, and from here, the student score will only move up the more they practice, and they'll be using Khan Academy as a part of that process. But as you can see, for the benchmark for the 11th grade PSAT and NMSQT, the benchmark was 460, and this particular student, example student, scored a 380, which puts them kind of in the red mark, basically saying they needed to strengthen their skills in regards to the evidence-based reading and writing. We'll talk more about those individual scores in a moment. And likewise in regards to the math score. Benchmark of the 11th grade being a 510, and this particular student is just behind that, just almost there at that meeting that benchmark with a 480. Now getting to the color scheme as to what the meaning is of the red and yellow and green bar there. The green, of course, means that they're meeting or exceeding the benchmark. They're at or above grade level. Yellow, if they scored within that range, they are just below grade level, like within a year or less. And the red means that they're below grade level by more than 1 year. So just kind of gives you an overview or a bird's eye view, if you will, of where they're at based on either their writing and reading score or their particular math score. If you were to select from the homepage of the school report on the various different tests from reading, writing language, and math for looking at how to improve their academic skills, this Skills Insight tab or button will provide a really encompassed explanation on how your child fared, where they did well, and the areas that they'll need to focus on in regards to getting some better support or some additional support, I should say. They can also go through, as well as you, through their test, clicking on the particular questions that they actually had when they took the PSAT. It'll show them the answer that they selected. If they got it correct, of course, it'll notate that. If they didn't get it correct, it'll showcase what the correct answer was, and then provide an in-depth discussion on why that was the better answer, and then as well why the other answers were not the best choice. The real key to this particular test is being able to find the answer that best answers or best provides support for the particular question. So it's a possibility that there might be two answers that are kind of iffy, sort of right, but then there's definitely going to be one that's the best answer, which is part of the process of deductive reasoning and students exercising their critical thinking skills. Again, this just shows their particular test by number, and it shows if they got the answer correct. It shows if it was a difficult question, a medium question, or an easy question, so they can kind of gauge where they were having the most difficulties. The subscores and cross-test scores, that's just showing the particular skill that was being assessed. Again, all of these things you can just, if you hover over it and you can click on it, it'll give you a much more detailed analysis and explanation of each aspect of this PSAT. Across the top, you'll see the number of incorrect answers, correct answers, and even if they omitted any answers, in other words, they skipped the question. And the key, again, is to make sure that students know that they will not receive a penalty for any incorrect answer. So it's best to try to not omit questions if they can help it. Now, AP Potential, which I mentioned earlier, pertains to students who qualify based on the results of the PSAT to look at various AP courses that we offer here at Hampton High. The way that students get college credit for AP or advanced placement courses is based on an AP exam that they take during the month of May, and they have to score at least a 3 to a 5, 5 being the best, in order to possibly qualify for college credit. That is all up to the college or university that each student ends up attending. They make that decision whether to count that as college credit, but we do know that students need at least a 3, depending on how competitive or the college requirements for the AP exam results. They could even require a score of a 4 or even a 5, but they need at least a 3 to actually be considered. So the AP Potential um, allows for students to see what AP courses they might qualify for or give serious consideration on taking in their junior and senior year if they're looking at some trying to earn some college credits while in high school. Now we're not going to go through the paper report, so I'm just going to click on this exit button here and jump on down. So we have all this information, and it's very good information, but now we want to take some action steps on what to do now that students have their score report and have access online to the various tools that allow them to see, what needs they have in order to increase their score next time they take, or when they actually sit for the actual SAT. Again, we encourage them to take it in their junior year and take it at least 2 times, if not more, in order to get access to Khan Academy that I spoke of at the beginning of this presentation. It's a free program, and if they just go to satpractice.org, which you'll see highlighted on this slide, they can begin the process of setting up their account for Khan Academy, and then Khan Academy connects with their College Board account, so they'll have to have their College Board username and password on hand as well. Because it'll import the data that they, in regards to their score report for their PSAT, and then provide an in-depth analysis and recommendations on what they need to hone in on as far as their particular skill set. And it'll provide direct practice, even under a timed scenario. So that the Khan Academy also has a total of 6 full SAT tests under time conditions that allow students to sit there and take it and see how they would actually score if they were actually sitting for the official SAT. Again, this is just talking about what they'll experience by using Khan Academy. So there's thousands of practice questions and videos covering every SAT concept. I already mentioned they have these 6 official full-length practice SAT tests. They'll get, based on their results and based on how they're doing in regards to their practice on Khan Academy, as well as when they incorporate their PSAT information, they'll get personalized recommendations, noting their strengths and weaknesses, and individualized tailored practice, mapping it out even all the way through the test to the test day. It also provides some various tips, strategies, because the whole thing about the SAT is not sitting there trying to memorize all the things that they've learned over the course of their time in school, but to develop an ability to be familiar with the outline of the test, and then be familiar with the way questions need to be answered, and look at how they can hone in on their critical thinking skills to earn a better score. I found this graphic on the College Board site, and it just shows the benefits from practicing for the SAT by taking the PSAT and then using the results from the PSAT and practicing for the eventual date that they will sit for the official SAT. So with no hours of official practice, students who just took the PSAT NMSQT and did nothing after that, they can, on average, they get 60 points. Their score increases by 60 points, I should say. For students who practice using Khan Academy in regards to after they complete their PSAT and then sign on to Khan Academy and begin that process up until practicing before their test, if they put in 6 hours total, they can experience up to a 90-point increase. And students who practice for 20 hours can experience on average a 115 points of, as far as an increase in their score with that much practice. So there's a lot of room out there for students to use the data that they have learned based on their results in their PSAT and getting ready for that actual SAT test. This just guides you through the login process for creating a Khan Academy account. Once they've done that, of course, they'll be directed to their collegeboard.org account, which is the reason why they need to have their username and password for their College Board account. They'll just sign in. They'll be prompted to hit send to authorize the linking of those two accounts. And then they just start practicing based on the results they got from their PSAT and based on how Khan Academy incorporates that data to get them ready for their personalized instruction. And again, all of this is at no charge. This is a service that's provided to every student who's taken the PSAT, or they can just simply get on Khan Academy and literally practice without having the PSAT incorporated, because the Khan Academy will actually take them through some practice exercises to gauge where their skills are strong and where their skills need some more support. At any time, of course, this graphic just showing more information in regards to linking that account. They are able to revoke that link at any time they wish. There's no charge for this process likewise. And they do have access to register for their SAT through their College Board account, or they can go to sat.org/register. And this is where students do actually register to take the test. And I remember I didn't really talk about, and I've neglected to mention what qualifies as a good score versus a not so good score, if there's such a thing. Basically, it's all relative to the college or universities that your child is applying to. Every college and university has a different criteria when it comes to what they're looking at as an average SAT, or another test is an ACT. They can take that as well. They each have a different minimum or average number or score that they're looking for. So the key here is to look up the particular college, go to their admissions page. It should have all that information laid out pretty well, and they can also get this information on their College Board account or through their Family Connections account through Naviance. The college search engine also allows for students to be able to have access to looking at the various data that colleges put out to show what kind of student, what kind of scores they're looking for when it comes to the SAT or even the ACT. This just a graphic showing some additional information that would prepare them for their future, various different things to Big Future, Roadmap to Careers, Student Search Service. I'm going to be putting out another video shortly in regards to what we utilize, which is, as I mentioned just a second ago, in regards to Family Connections, and that's by Naviance. That'll be another video at another time. I do appreciate everyone's attention. I hope this information has been helpful. At any time, if you think of a question and that I didn't cover here on this presentation, please do not hesitate to contact me, or you're most welcome if you need your particular school counselor. If you just go to our website at Hampton High and click on School Counseling, you will see our contact information right here on this page, and we'll be glad to assist you and your child and their future endeavors in regards to post-secondary planning and equipping them with the tools that they need to get to that point in their life. Again, thank you, and I'll be waiting for your questions.